Hi, folks. Larry Rolla here again. And as usual, we have a problem, but I'm going to bring my friends on. Hold on. Joe, Eddie, Anthony. Now, you see the problem we have is that Anthony and Eddie like in the dark, and we try to fix it, but I'm not going to hit any more buttons because every time I hit a button, I'll lose everything. So it's just gonna have to stay like this.
Well enough alone.
Yeah, leave well enough alone. Well, anyway, welcome back, guys. And as usual, we have absolutely nothing planned for today. So we're going to depend on your calls and your questions to come in on your comments. And also, okay, we got Francis already. Hi, everyone. Hi, Francis.
Hi, Francis.
Before I forget, I have a problem that I have to figure out. I just found this out today. I must have 100 or 200 texts or messages on my my other account, the account that goes to my
website.
My website, right?
You mean emails?
I get emails, but they go to the other account. And I don't get that on my computer. I get it here. I get it on my phone, and it's
well, you could set it up to get it on your computer too. It's just an email address. You just have to add it.
Yeah. Look, Larry at LarryRolla.com. That's my website, I think. That's my website.
Yeah.
I used to get both emails on my regular website, on my regular email, and on this. Now I don't, something happened. It's because I keep pressing buttons and I screw everything up. Now I have 100 emails or text messages or messages, whatever you call these things, in this Larry at LarryRolla.com. It says Microsoft 365. Now I get these messages on my phone, but I don't get them there. And I just found that these on my phone. So anyway, it's all screwed up. I got to get somebody in here that knows, and I got to learn to stop pressing with buttons. Maybe I should wear mittens. This way I can't hit buttons. Anyway, I read the first two, and I got a voice message from my good friend Doris. Doris is married to my friend Bob Seawack, and she's also the mother of Kurt Watson. And she likes that song that I stole from Alfred Natoli that he wrote.
Getting late.
It's getting late. She likes that song.
I like it too.
And she wanted to know where she can get it or how she can get it. And there's no way to get it because that's what you're playing. What I play is a demo. And Alfred is looking for some pretty famous movie country western singer to sing this song and also sing Here's to the Band, the song Sinatra made famous, a tribute to the band. What I should do is I should ask Alfred to upload it here so I could play it so you could hear it, because that's a great song. That was the last single Sinatra ever sang before he retired. So Doris, there's no way it's not out there. I just have it on my computer here. So that's it. Another message I got was from Gloria DeMasi. And she said, "Hi, Larry. I remember you from my youth. My uncle was Frank Pallotta. I used to see you at his home in Sprain Road in Hartsdale all the time. Would love to read your book. Was wondering how I could get an autographed copy. Well, I must have got, when I wrote the book, they sent me about, I don't know, 30 or 40 copies. Naturally, I gave them all away. Since then, I must have gave away about another 300 or 400. But that was the last time. I think I wrote the book 4 or 5 years ago. Now, here's the only thing you could do, Gloria. You could do one or two things. You could go to Amazon and ask for Against All Odds by Larry Rolla, and then get the book and then send it to me. Or if you send me an address, I will get the book. I don't have any here, otherwise I would just ask you for your address and send it to you. Or if you want, send me your address and I will get a book. I'll order a few more and I will sign it and I will send it to you. That's the best that I could do. Now, I was starting to get more emails, but then I realized they were almost 100, and I says, you know what? Let me just get this fixed, and I have to stop pressing buttons. See, like right now, there is no reason why Eddie is in the dark and Anthony is in the dark. We try to fix it before we come on, but I'm afraid to hit any more buttons. So it's just going to stay like that, and we'll figure it out during the week. And don't forget, this Thursday, Joe Rico's coming on. Remember Joe Rico?
Yep.
Great guy. That's the guy that shoved that money in my pocket. I can never forget that. There's certain things you just don't ever forget, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I remember I had the rail, and he left out of the 5-hole, and he said, "Let me go and come right back," and then he didn't let me go.
Is that really?
Yeah, one of those races you played. Yeah, I end up winning the race anyway. Otherwise, I would have been a little pissed off. But yeah. Name of the horse was Trio N at Roseville Raceway.
New Zealand horse.
I hate to ask him about that. That's not nice.
Yeah,
wow. Let me
I
go.
was a nice guy.
Have Joe on the show.
Joe's no, I don't. No, well, Joe wouldn't do anything anyway. Joe.
No, I'll just ask him the question.
No, I could ask him the question.
It's 35 years ago.
I
bet my horse, so I was pissed off at the quarter pole, but it all worked out.
Wow.
I win the race, but it would have been a different situation if
I got to think about if I should ask him that or not.
Well, the race. You should show him the race.
I think I erased the race. I don't know. The videos, if I take them off, see, I got to eliminate some of these things, because if I leave them on, they go on forever. I can never find nothing, so I have to start eliminating stuff. But I wonder if when I eliminate the videos, if they're still in my file. I got to get somebody up here. I got to get, everybody that has a YouTube thing. All of these guys, there's a million of them out there. They all have producers and directors and cameras, and just like I had in the beginning. In the beginning, I had 3 cameras. I had a guy to set everything up, and everything in the first 15 or 20 were perfect. They were, as far as content and everything else. I just went through the whole book chapter by chapter, and then after that was over, I was going to end it, and I said to my friend Tom, who set it all up for me, I says, I'm not going to do this no more. And then I was convinced to do it, but Tom already took another position, and now I just got this. So I do everything myself. And in the beginning, I forgot to hit live, and I did a whole podcast that never was aired, and I forgot to put the voice on. I got just complete disaster. But I'm learning now. But I don't want to fool around. I don't want to fool around too much with this. But so people, I have all the comments on here. So if you have questions for us about anything, even about anything, I don't care what it is. Just just be respectful and answer the questions. Now, we got to get to the star of the week, who is my friend Eddie, who gave out winner after winner, paid big prices. And last week, when I asked him about that horse he had in, and he says, well, he'll be on the board. And I made that stupid remark, well, if John Gotti asked you for that, and that was the answer that you gave him, he'd leave you right where you were standing. In the meantime, the horse finished second. What did he pay for second, Eddie?
$540, I think.
Oh, I thought he paid more than that. Because every time you win a race now, I get 15, 20 phone calls.
Well, send them over, see if they want to buy any horses.
Well, I tell them that. I tell everybody right now, if anybody wants to get in the thoroughbred business or have a horse that they want to switch, I could tell you one thing. He comes from the trotters. He's well aware of conditioning, lameness, and anything pertaining to horse racing. The one thing he don't do is abuse horses, and he's a hay and oats guy with a lot of success. So he has a small stable. I think that's how he wants it. I don't even know. I mean, if you want more horses, Eddie, just that's fine. But I never kind of said what I just said because I figured that you were 100 years old and
101.
Yeah, and you wanted to just kind of take it easy.
That horse that you trained for that guy, he scratched that day at Philly Park, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Some guy mentioned it, and he was right. He asked me what happened to that horse that you had. You finished second with him or whatever, and then the horse win. Then you sold him. I didn't sell him. The owner sold him, Peter, and then he was in a four-claimer. And he win by open lengths. He win going away. He was like a different horse. And then he says, and now he raised him to $10,000 claimer. Well, so my answer was, well, first of all, he was racing poorly and he was still the favorite. So he was in a very weak field. But aside from all of that, he did win in hand. And he did move him up to a 10 claimer. Now, I was anxious. I was curious, and I wanted to watch the race because look.
So was I.
We've been, all of us here together. We probably have 200 years of experience, and maybe more, in training horses and racing horses. And we've both seen trainers that were winning at a terrible, terrible rate. They win 1 out of 50 races, and all of a sudden they're winning every other race. And then sure enough, even years back when they were starting to freeze samples, all of these trainers got their due. They all got suspended and all got okay. So now, especially with thoroughbreds, see, with standardbreds, you can claim a horse for $3,000 that's finishing up the track every week, and then claim them and then win all the way up the ladder. And the reasons could be many. Change of equipment. You can let the hobbles out 3-4 inches or take them up 3-4 inches, lower the head, change some equipment on them. And they could all be reasons why. Just a simple thing of lowering the head 4 or 5 holes can make the difference in a world champion or a horse that can't beat 3,000 claimers. Now that sounds crazy, but it's true. That's how much equipment matters in standardbreds. In thoroughbreds, training and conditioning is basic. If you're halfway smart, you'll know that a horse that's a little 900-pound filly don't need as much work and training as a 1,200-pound stud horse. But basically, the training and conditioning is basically the same. Now, what could make a horse improve to drastically? Blinkers on, blinkers off.
I could tell you something right away.
Well, let me just finish this, and then you can go.
All right, go.
Because the horse that won, Assad, he had the exact same equipment on, meaning blinkers. That's what he had on in hind bandages. That's it. There was no equipment change. There was no nothing. There was no, so what made a horse go from zero to that? You know, so, and that's why I was anxious to watch him in that 10 claimer, but he got scratched. Now, I called up 3 people at that racetrack, and I says, you need to find out why he was scratched. And nobody could find out why he was scratched. Now, I don't know if the guy who sent me this message last week, he obviously is into that at Parks. If he could text me tonight, you know, on this chat here, on the comments, why was that horse scratched? Now, was he scratched because of a positive test? Was he scratched before they just entered him just to fill the race and then scratch him before? You know, I don't know. Go ahead, Joe. What were you going to say?
The 2 most important pieces of equipment are a tube and a funnel. Those are the most important pieces of equipment.
A tube and a phone.
And a funnel.
A funnel. Okay, now I get it. I didn't know. I get the tube, but I don't know the
funnel. The funnel.
I got it. Funnel now. I got it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're 85 years old, everything starts to go. You have to stop making fun of me when I don't hear things. But I learned to say algorithm.
Yeah. Algorithm.
Algorithm. And that's another thing. I have to say, hit like and hit. It has something.
Subscribe.
Hit like,
ring the bell.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Because it has something to do with the algorithms. See, I said it good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and we're gonna start getting some real good stuff on this show. So we got to try to get you know, some more people, and maybe
By the way, the show of Billy O'Donnell was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, he Billy, you know, he would have stayed on another 2 hours. He's such a good guy. He's such a witty guy. But he a lot of the questions I would have asked him if we were having dinner privately, I couldn't ask here, and I didn't want to. You know, I wanted him to, because all you have to do is mention one thing, and he can rattle on for hours, and that's what I wanted. The few questions that I wanted to know for my own for me, I asked him. But he's going to come on again. He's going to come on, and we'll get all of them on. Like I said, Thursday, that other guy Michael, who knows everything about. He's very good at with his ideas how to save harness racing. And Joe Rico, there's a few things that I want to ask him. I raced with Joe when he first started, but he was a real good guy, and he was the guy that put the money in my top pocket. Very good.
Larry, you got to wish John Campbell a happy birthday.
I did it at 6:30 this morning. I wished him a happy birthday. And I'm sure that if John didn't have the position that he has, that he would come on the show. I'd love to get his wife on the show, Paula, but he'd probably kill her. I told a story about when she was walking in. I says to my friends, "There's John Campbell's wife. She come up to me. If she would have had a gun, she would have put it right in the roof of my mouth and said, 'I'm Paula, not John Campbell's wife.'" And Billy laughed. Anyway, tell us about your. So you were telling me this afternoon you claimed another horse.
Yeah, I claimed the horse Saturday for $16,000. He was a $300,000 intermischief purchase, New York bred, and Todd Pletcher has the horse because I like to claim off the big trainers because they pay top dollar. Either the breeding is good. They pay top dollar, and they don't run well. They're not stake horses, so they put them where they think they can either get rid of them or. So I take shots with them. I've been successful, claimed off him, I think, twice before. I claimed one for 14, and I made 120,000 with him. I won all the New York bred conditions. The name of the horse was Uno. And then I claimed another one for 25, and I raced, and they claimed her for 50. But I like claiming off the top trainers because the type of training and conditioning they do are A+, but the other trainers, there's too much medication, too much injections, too much tap in the joints, and whatever horse you claim, those horses off those people, you have nothing but a vet bill. And so he went by 16 or 15. You seen the replay. And
what'd you claim him for?
16,000.
Where are you going to put him?
I'm going to put him in I'm going to put him in the starters, going 1 1/8 miles.
What? How long was that race?
A mile.
And
I figured, he went 23, 46, 111, 124, 136, I think.
That's very good.
That's fast. And if he goes 1 1/8 miles, he's going to go, 24, 50, 113 in a piece, and he's going to coast. So, it's going to, I'll probably steal one. So
how many, well, you did already. You already stole one.
Yeah.
How many horses does Fletcher train?
About 400.
Cool.
Where they're all over the country, I imagine.
Yes, they're all over, and he's got all different.
Where does he stay? Where's his?
Well, he has a lot of horses in Florida. He's in that I guess that Palm Meadows or whatever the heck that training center is down there in Florida, West Palm. I don't know the name of it. He has horses there. Sunshine Meadows, or it starts with a Payson Park or something. I don't know, one of those. But he has horses all over.
That's Tronic's training center down there that they were going to use as a racetrack when they closed Gulfstream. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think they're selling that too.
Well, that's probably sold Gulfstream. They're going to probably try to maybe try to open up Hialeah again. Depending on the all that other defunding or whatever the hell it is.
Decoupling.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful track. I raced there. A couple of winters. I raced there. Beautiful track.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But so I claimed, and I will see what happens. I'm going to give him a couple of weeks off, and not off, but a couple of weeks before I enter him back. But I'm racing 2 Thursday, and I'm racing 1 Saturday. So, I'm 10-1 in all of them. So, look out.
That's all you have to say. That's it.
Look out, Clay.
No, so it's interesting. It's nice. I tell you what, it's a nice journey. I really like the standardbreds and the harness racing, because it's a hands-on, whole different ball game there. Whole different. I'm telling you.
The only reason I didn't stick with the thoroughbreds is because to make a living,
it's tough.
You can make a good living, a decent living. You can with 10 standardbreds. To make the same exact living, you got to have 30 thoroughbreds, because they race every 3-4 weeks. Then the race don't go, and it's just a pain. And for somebody like me, that's like an action guy. I mean, I want to race every day.
Yeah. You know what it is? Like, a lot of people come up to me and say, Eddie, how could you race this horse back in 9 days? How could you race this horse back in 22 days? Listen, I'm a conditioner. If these horses come in after a race, they're sound and they eat up and they're happy, they're going to run. I don't abuse them. And I usually come up with a victory after that, and when I do, then I back off and give them 25, 30 days. And then I come back, I mean, I raced one horse 3 times in the month of February. I win 2 and ran second.
The harness horses, when a race secretary needed a horse, sometimes you race back in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
When they're short, they call you up, Joe, can we use that horse back? He just raced Wednesday, yeah, but we need him for Saturday or Sunday. What are you going to tell him? No, you got to say yes. The horse is sound.
Like sometimes, like I'll take a horse out and I'll tell the exercise rider, back up 7/8, gallop them, and then go around one more time. Go 2.5 miles, sometimes 3, but not open gallops. And I want to put air in their lungs. I want to put foundation. Yeah. They come back after a race, they don't even blow, because I mean, I tell these guys, I said, listen, if you're an athlete and you're a marathon runner, what are you going to sprint to get in conditioning? No, you're going to jog 5, 6, 10 miles to run that marathon. Oh, I'm going to breeze a horse in 35. What good is it? You're leaving it on the track. Breeze him in 38, gallop out in 13, go 51. That's it. Condition them. But like I said, I like standardbreds because it's hands-on. You do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get piss stains on your knees. Show me those trainers down there.
That's for sure.
They don't.
I never believed in training the horse hard, especially old claimers that I had. 90% of them were claimers. I had the best claimers in every class. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, you had a good claiming barn, yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable. Every class, I had the best horse, or the top 2 horses. And I never trained them in between racing. They raced their hearts out every week.
Yeah, jog.
Make them happy. I used to bring them to the farm, alternate them, bring them back in. They were fresh.
Thoroughbreds losing their form in 24 hours.
I can't believe that.
Standardbreds don't. Why?
Yeah.
Because you condition them every day. They race 3 or 4 times a month.
See what you're saying now. I agree. I don't necessarily agree with the last statement that you just made, but I will say this: that I agree with you racing a horse right back in 8 days, 10 days, something like that. But if you do it consistently, you're going to need HISA out of your life because you're going to have to give them a little help recuperating.
Of course.
You got to give them a little help because after the second time you do that, it's going to take them 2-3 days to recuperate. And especially if they're on Lasix, and that's what the problem is. And the beef I had with management and with judges is the first thing that they in this HISA thing too, is that they're more concerned about the betting public than just getting some horsemen in there and saying and making rules that are sensible, not nonsensical rules that protect the betting public, because you want to protect the betting public and hinder the horsemen and hinder the horse and not help the horse recuperate. Yet you did everything in your power. No, you didn't do everything in your power. You did absolutely nothing to keep the people at the racetrack. So you're worrying about protecting the betting public. In the meantime, you hindered the horse, you hindered the horsemen, and you did absolutely nothing to keep the betting public coming to the racetrack. So now from the podcast I did with Eddie, and even talking with Billy and Michael, they got the right people in the right places now, trying to resurrect the dead. And that's the situation that they're in. But they got the right people. They got the right people in the right places now. Now they just got to figure out how to save you know, how to save it. I hope. And the guy that I got coming on Thursday, he's one of the guys. And if they listen to him, and I know that he's in tune with John Campbell, and they're right on the same page. And I think maybe the problem might be, there's a multitude of problems. So anyway, Anthony, what do you got to say? Anything?
Well, last week I had written something up I had wanted to read. Last week you were talking about me, Joe, and Eddie, you know, how we treated horses and how kind we were to them, that we don't abuse them. And Joe told a story about, you know, how he kept one horse until he was 33 years old. And
that's a great story. That was a great story.
Yeah,
there ain't many people that would do that.
No.
Yeah.
And I had you know, one of my trotters that I got as a 4-year-old, race him until he was 12. And I basically said the same thing to him as Joe said to his horse, that this is your last race, buddy. We're done. You gave me 8 good years. That's a lot. That's a lot of years to get out of a horse. And I actually got off at 10,000 for him. And no way was I going to sell him for 10,000. You know, a guy probably figured, well, for 10 grand, he was a solid, you know, 75,000 claimer, open trotter, beat the opens at the Meadowlands a few times. And I just says, no. And I needed money at the time. And I says, no, that's not going to happen. So I gave him to a Christian farm that they bring handicapped kids to. And,
good for you.
You know, I called like the first year or so that he was there, and, you know, and my neglect, I didn't keep calling, you know, and I think more so because I was afraid to hear that, you know, maybe something happened to him or he passed away, and I didn't want to deal with that. But Larry, you know, you didn't give yourself any credit last week, and that's why I had written this a while ago, but I kind of adapted some things to it, so I'd like to read it now. And it started off with last week. Larry had a kind word for Joe, Eddie, and myself, saying our love for horses. He excluded himself from that. Well, I have to say something about Larry. Most of you know Larry by his podcast and how he was heavily involved in racing, fixing races. Many of those races were fixed with my uncle, Con Erico, who was a well-known jockey. This went on when I was just about getting into racing. My uncle rarely spoke about it with me. He didn't want me involved. He would ask me if I knew Larry, though. And at the time, I didn't know Larry that well, as I know him now. He always had a kind word for Larry. This is how I knew Larry over the years. One of them was with him fixing races. I think the people that really know Larry don't look at the race fixing. He's overshadowed by the great horseman he was and the love he had for horses. Larry had a knack for fixing troubled horses. I know of top trainers that would have Larry take a look at their horses, and Larry would figure them out. I was stabled in the next barn over from him. He was overshadowed by his kind heart and generosity. Larry was extremely generous. If he had money, a lot of people benefited by it. Many people that had life-threatening illnesses, Larry would pay for their medical treatment. Thousands upon thousands of dollars. If you needed a place to live, well, Eddie, you know this. Larry had a place for you to live at, and that's if he didn't buy you a mobile home or rented an apartment for you or something. I'm very grateful that we reconnected after so many years. Take it from me, the race fixing is just a small part of who Larry is. During one of Larry's downtimes, he had resorted to sleeping on a park bench at a very low point in his life, and nobody there to help him. During that time, a close friend of his told him that you can count your really true friends on one hand. Well, Larry, I hope I have a spot on that hand. I recommend everybody to listen to his podcast from the first one. You got to listen from the first one and up until now. Now they're live ones, but to get a lot of his story, you got to listen to it from the first one. And you'll never get to know him, but you'll get some idea. I guess everyone isn't as lucky as I am to experience it firsthand.
Thank you very much, Anthony. That was very nice.
It was good.
Very well spoken, Anthony.
That was very
you don't give yourself the credit you deserve. So, you know, you're always putting yourself down. And that's
what I should do. You know what I wanted to do? What I wanted to do naturally, when they convinced me to write the book, I wrote the book, and naturally, the book was about nobody wants to hear. They want to hear all the bad stuff I did. That was the exciting stuff. So I wrote the book, but early on, what got me there was the addiction, and I wanted to do a lot of podcasts about addiction because and I talked to a couple of people about that, and one pretty sharp guy told me that that of the three major addictions, meaning drinking and drugs and gambling, that the first two were different than gambling. Gambling, the first two was substance abuse.
More curable, basically, probably.
Gambling it's a mindset. It's all about the chase. It's a chase. And of all the addictions, the three addictions, the only one that has almost a zero cure rate is gambling. And I wanted to do a bunch of podcasts and have people that were really addicted to gambling and how it just completely destroys your life, but you can't get the chase out of your system. And I had an old Jewish guy. In fact, I got to get him on here. And he knew all the wise guys, and probably 99% of the mob guys, sick, degenerate gamblers, from the top right down to the associates. And not only do I know this for sure, because I was involved with many of them, but all you have to do is go to a racetrack, and it was a sad day when they started with that harness track security, and I understand because it's one of the rules to have a license to own a racetrack. You can't have any undesirables there. Well, half the people in the grandstands are undesirables, and they were betting. I mean, just Gotti's crew alone, they were sending hundreds of thousands a week into the handle. But they started with eliminating them, and that just about at the same time when the casinos come and the lottery come and everything, and it was just a whole bunch of stuff that. But anyway, I wanted to have. And maybe I will do that, have people call in that have this gambling addiction and some of the horror stories, and many of them get themselves, and I could probably name four or five of them for sure that just got themselves really, really jammed up, and I never seen them no more. Now, I don't know if they just ran away or something bad happened to them, but if you're a racetrack person, there's a lot of these stories around. And I remember years ago, I'm talking about in the 50s and 60s, guys would sell the registration to their cars just sell their car right out of the parking lot just to get money to make a bet. And when you have that addiction, if a guy says, look, I'll give you 200, but I want 10 points a week, you're taking the money. Yeah.
Well, Larry, you should seriously think about that, because I mean, there are so many people that are in that position, and I mean, even if you could help one person, that could help get out of that. I mean,
but I don't see the problem. The problem, the reason I didn't go through with it is because there's nothing I can tell them that could help them. I mean, they already know they got no chance to win.
Somebody else's story of what they went through, just put something else in their head to think about, You never know. You never know. It makes somebody click. So you don't know. You might not think you're helping them, but you just might be. It's worth a shot.
Well, if anybody out there that's listening has an addiction, because that's what got me. That's what got me jammed up. Call in and maybe we'll do a show.
We got a lot of
Look at yourself.
experience
You
there.
were addicted and you're not anymore. So, I mean,
Well, the guy in the top upper right hand screen there, Joe, he had a problem too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He
and
had a
look at both
problem.
of you. So you can't say that, something clicked on you guys to do it.
You know
Yeah.
why it clicked? It clicked on Joe for a different reason than it clicked on me. It clicked on me because it was a matter of life and death for
Right.
me. If I first of all, I had no place to make another bet. Second of all, if I did find a place and did make another bet, there wasn't enough money to go around. I had to save my life. I had to do what I had to do, and I had to pay attention. And that's the only good thing about me. I was addicted, and then but I had the ability to adjust. As bad as that addiction was, it was now I have to, if I have to, my main goal now was I was able to make that switch to make the payments every week, instead of betting. And then after a while, right now I haven't made a bet in, God, 40 years, 50
There
years.
you go. Yeah.
I was threatened, Larry, many times. I had guns to my head twice, and I mean to my head, once in my mouth. And I took a couple of rides with 4 guys in the car, me in the back seat of a Cadillac with 2 guys, one guy on the left, one guy on the right, and two heavyweights. And I had a few scary days in my life,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's you can't. People ask me many times. In fact, when I first went to California, when I made that first deal, they asked me, weren't you afraid, and weren't you? And you can't say you weren't afraid, because if you weren't afraid, you would just not pay and not worry about it and wind up dead. So it's not that you're not afraid. It's just that you're so busy and so into getting the money, doing what you have to do to get the money to stay alive. So if you sit back down and think about it, yeah, if you weren't afraid, you wouldn't have been trying to get the money, and you wouldn't have did what you had to do. So it's scary stuff. And I don't know how many people out there listening had like Joe, had a gun put in his mouth, and with serious people. And you got to remember, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe early 80s, these guys that you bet with, that you took money from, and that you took shots at, they were serious guys. There was no yelling and screaming. It was get in the car, and it was serious stuff. And that's why I say a lot of times today, like when I get into these situations, and to me, it's like kindergarten stuff for what I went through in my life. I couldn't put it in the book. Well, I put some in the book because you have to, but because nobody believe it. Nobody believe it. Nobody would believe. Like the first thing I got with Sony Pictures when I went out to California, the first thing they said was that the story was I don't believe the story. And I says, well, why? I mean, I try to put in the book everything that could be verified. The heavyweight stuff is not even in the book. It's the bullshit stuff. And there was stuff about girls. There was stuff about the good things I did, because I was told to put that stuff in there. That's why they were in there. And I couldn't go over 85,000 words. But he, in the main read, the one guy said, you're telling me they took you out in the ocean and filled a 55-gallon bucket up with. And I says, look, it wasn't a 55-gallon drum. It was a drum that was 2 or 3 feet off the ground. I just said a 55-gallon drum. I says, and they poured 2 bags of cement in there, and they pumped water in.
Enough to sink you.
No, well, his thing was a good question, but I didn't have no answer. He says, do you realize that cement don't harden in salt water? And I says, let me tell you something. I said, what I'm telling you happened. What I'm telling you happened. I don't know if they took the water from the boat, the fresh water, drinking water. I don't know if they pumped it from the sea. I don't know. But I know one thing.
You're not thinking of
It
that.
was starting to get hard. That's what I know.
Your feet were in it.
And then naturally,
Fear.
naturally, I
Physics at
I
that
must have
point.
got a million calls that cement does get hard in salt water.
It's just the fear of
Who
you.
would even think about that?
Yeah, right.
Most likely,
You're
most
thinking of
likely they wanted to get
physics
paid.
as
They just
a
didn't
life
escape.
situation.
I know damn well just the fear of them sitting there. They're putting
Yeah,
cement there.
no kidding.
I don't care if it get hard or don't get hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Physics aren't going through your head at that time.
they most likely weren't going to do anything, but they wanted
Put the
to
fear
wake
in
you
you.
up and see you pay them every week like you did,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
Because for them to kill you, they ain't going to get no money.
No.
So,
Whatever. Let's go through some of these comments. Okay, we're gonna go to Francis. I
All
think
right,
didn't she
Francis.
said she lived in Chicago? Weren't we gonna take her to lunch or something, Joe?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a little.
yeah.
Hi, Francis.
Hello, Francis.
Here's my pal Sundance. Hi, Larry, Eddie, and Anthony. What about Joe?
I'm
Joe
out.
is on the other page.
I'm the Sundance kid.
He's down there.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
okay, here she is. Hi, Joe.
Who are
There
you?
he is.
There you are.
Hi,
Eric,
Sundance.
Sundance,
That's
you
okay.
ever work at Penn National? Okay, Sundance, you're gonna have. Oh, here's her answer. No, I've never been there, Eric. Okay. Hello, gentlemen. Hello.
Hello.
We're gonna.
Hello.
I was an owner at Yonkers when Joe was dominating. He was so the guy to beat. I was with Ross Cohen.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, was Ross Cohen that big heavy guy?
No,
Yeah.
that was Jordan Rubin.
Joe. Oh yeah. He was a character. That guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I have Frank. Let me answer this. Hello.
Larry,
Yeah,
Frankie,
I'm in the middle of a podcast right now. There's a lot of people out here. This conversation.
all right. I'm gonna hang up. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Who's that? Frankie Five Angels?
Frankie Guzza Maria.
Frankie
Gags.
Five
Oh,
Angels.
I know who that is. That's my friend Frankie. He was just in the hospital. Oh, I should have asked him how he was. Oh God. Yeah, I know
Call
who
him
that
back.
Frankie. Let me just call him back.
Frankie Cusimano.
Yeah, I wrote his name down. I probably spelt it wrong. Then,
How you doing, buddy?
Frank, I can't talk to you because I'm on a podcast, but I heard that you were in a hospital. Are you okay?
Well, I got cancer like you. I'm fucked up.
Oh, jeez.
What happened is what they found is I got it of the what you would call it. I think it's called CMML. All right, and it's got to do with the what you would call
The blood.
So the blood, that's it. It's all the blood. And what happened is they know what they're doing, and they got it all arrested and all.
My father had that. He's been in remission for 5 years.
Joe said my friend on the podcast said his father had that, and he's been in remission for 5 years. Frankie, look, I got the podcast going. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. God bless, buddy. Take it easy. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
What is that?
It's like
The
myeloma.
cancer of the blood.
Myeloma, right, Joe?
No, lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's.
Yeah.
Wow. Everybody has cancer. Well, you'll be glad to know when I went to the doctor I just found this out about 3-4 hours ago when I was looking through my phone. I went to the doctor for my regular doctor for the lungs. And he says to me, he says, Larry, sit down and let me tell me all about your cancer thing. So I did. And he says, after you get, and I told him about the test that I took. I told him that they cleaned everything out. They took 15 lymph nodes out. They took 2 feet of tumor out of my large intestine. They put a bag on the side. Then they reconnected everything. And they took a blood test that because they said you got to take chemotherapy. So I says, I'm not taking chemotherapy. I'm going to try the ivermectin route. So they says, well, at least do me a favor, take this new blood test that they just come out. And I took it, and they said it tells if you have any micro cancer cells throughout your whole body. So the test came back and it said 0.08%. So that was a month and a half ago. So every 3 months I got to take that test again. Now, last week 2 weeks ago when I went to my doctor, he says there's another new blood test that's not approved by the Food and Drug Administration, but they've been doing tests for the last 10 years. And he gave me a pamphlet, and it's very, 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 very impressive. And they said that it could tell if you have any like 50 of the major cancers. It could tell if you have it. And the customer, the name of this test is GRAIL, GRAIL. And they just sent me a thing just today. Your test results are ready. So I was anxious to get these test results because I wanted to compare them with the other test results, because I stopped taking the ivermectin after 1 month. And if there's no trace of cancer on this test, and there's no trace of cancer on the test I'm going to take in another 2 weeks, then I'm all done with the ivermectin. That I took it for 1 month, and if there's no trace of cancer, it did the job. If there's more cancer, then I have to go back on the ivermectin and a whole cocktail, 2 other parasite killing drugs that complement the ivermectin. So anyway, I got these results back today, and it said no trace of cancer.
Great.
Wow.
Great news.
And it's supposed to be a pretty good test. And in fact, because the Food and Drug Administration didn't approve it yet, you have to pay for it. It was $1,000, $970, something like that. So I took it right away because the doctor says after you get all your other tests, he says, I ain't going to wait, just do it now. So I did it, and I got the results just today. So it says no trace of cancer. So now in 2 weeks, I'm going to take the other test, and if I'll get the results in 2 weeks from that, and if that shows that it's clear, then I'm not going to take the ivermectin, but I'm going to get checked every 6 months or whatever, because they want me to go for a colonoscopy now every year. So anyway, it was good. It was that was good news. And,
Thank God. Thank the good Lord.
yeah. Well, now we'll see what the other one says. But anyway, they reconnected me. All my plumbing is hooked back up. I'm like normal now. That hole where your intestine comes out, where they hook the bag up to, that's all healed. So I'm ready for the beach. I'm ready.
Ready to come back to train horses. Let's go.
Let's go, Larry. We'll go together. We'll come back.
No. You know what I was going to do when when I was still involved, they had night racing for thoroughbreds here. I forget during the winter. I forgot. But I was gonna claim a thoroughbred and just race them right out of the fields. Race them right here, put them in a paddock somewhere around here, and then just ship them in the race. Probably win a lot of money. Anyway, David says I was an owner at Yonkers when Joe was dominating. He was the so guy to beat. But well, since Joe been on, I get a lot of calls saying, telling me about that how dominant he was. and he was. He win and I don't think I ever asked Joe this, but I'm gonna ask him now, and this is one of the questions I'm gonna ask Joe Rico on Thursday. You were very, very, very successful, extremely successful, winning training and driving titles, training titles, especially wherever you went. Why'd you get out of the business?
First of all, two of my big owners passed away within 6 months. I was going through a divorce, and my back issues were very bad. So I decided it was time. You know, I went down from 60 horses to maybe 15 horses, and was going through a bad divorce, and I just felt it was time. I couldn't walk most of the time. Even when I was driving, sometimes they had to put me in the bike. They had to pick me up and put me in the bike. And my back was just too bad. That's the main thing. Plus a couple of, like I said, two Jewish owners I had for a long time, both passed away. And their kids wanted nothing to do with horse racing. They wanted to get rid of everything. So I just felt it was time. The business was changing a lot. And I just made a decision. I actually moved to Pompano and raced down here for a year or so, but it was ridiculous. You get a 20 claimer that raced for 14,000 in New York. You're racing the same horses down here, and you're racing for 6,000, 7,000. A bale of hay was $18 down there. I was paying $4 a bale. You know, I bought it from the local farmer, and everything down here was crazy. I mean,
Fix your camera, Joe. Fix your camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I just felt it was time.
And plus, you had to go from New York to Pompano, and you got to go in 52 in a 52 in a piece in Pompano, and the racing was tough for no money.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying.
we've been down
The
there.
bills were astronomical, and
I went down there. I went down there because it got to the point, like
the winter.
The weather. The weather was just. It was just tough. Not only that, but it was just tough.
The other thing, the racing commission was on me like you couldn't believe it. The judges, it was constant. I mean, it just was relentless. Where either I was gonna do something really stupid to a judge, or just walk away, and I had to walk away.
And you stayed in Florida, so that's where you moved permanently?
Yeah, I stayed in Florida.
Yeah.
And then I started doing that Storage Wars. You know that Storage Wars?
Yeah.
That show.
Is that scripted, or is that really? Is that bullshit?
It's real. It's real. But the show, I could have been on that show. You know, they had a Miami version of it. I could have been on it, because I was a big buyer over there. I went every day. The thing over there with the show is you do find a lot of good things. But what they did, they planted a lot of stuff for the show. In other words, you would bid on the locker, and the real way to do it was after the auction, after you paid for it, you could go into the locker. With the show, they made you come in the next day, and they planted stuff. This way, there was always that one thing that, wow, look at this. You know, so, but it was pretty much real. But,
because I when I was hanging out with the Hollywood crowd, they told me that all of these reality shows, they're all scripted. You know, every year, you know, the Housewives of Virginia, of Jersey, and this.
Yeah, but the guys that were on it was actual guys that, you know, they weren't actors. They were actual guys that did it for a living, like I was. So those guys are real, but they did plant a lot of stuff.
Yeah. All right, Eric wrote, anyone here remember Robbie Davis' horse sadly over Mike Venetia, and Venetia died? Hunter Myers' death reminded me of this. Yeah, there's a lot of things. And the one good thing about the thoroughbreds, the thoroughbred business, is that they were the first ones. And this was unbelievable, because I think I did a whole podcast about this, that put together a fund for all jockeys that got hurt or paralyzed because there were many, many, many that paralyzed and in wheelchairs and everything else. And finally, the thoroughbred people put together a fund that takes care of them and everything. And I think harness racing has some kind of fund for that. But I've been out of it. I don't pay that much attention. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Them little guys weigh 100 pounds. They get trampled by them horses, and it's tough. It's tough. Years ago when I was in Pompano, they only did it at Pompano. I don't remember them doing it here at Pompano. They did it. They had the jockeys come from Gulfstream or Hialeah or Calder, and they would come because they were promoting jockeys driving in a race, and we had to train them that whole week. And they were fearless guys, but they said, "You guys are crazy for driving this."
Yeah, they did it at Yonkers too.
They did. They said this is much more dangerous than riding on a horse's back with the.
Of course.
And it's true. And they says that even Yukaza, when I was teaching him when I get his license, he even said this is it's scary going into the first turn.
And they had the hub rail in too.
Yeah.
That was I can't believe no one decided to move the hub rail earlier than they did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's such a simple thing that no one thought of.
Yeah. Tom, hi, Larry. Hope you're doing well. Agree that music calms the demons. I'll tell you, music saved my life because they were, after every day, and I'll tell you, it was probably every day, and this is what I told all the people that before COVID happened, when I was sitting with Nicholas Pileggi and them, every single day, from the time I did what I did till the time the racetrack opened, and then the races went off, and then the collections and everything else, that whole day, that lasted maybe 12, 13 hours before I got all the money back. And then it was the nighttime where the races at night, the trotters, and the daytime it was the flats. Each one of them days from 5, 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight when the last race closed could have been one episode all by itself and be a dramatic, nail-biting episode. And I went through, God, years and years and years of it. And that's when they decided that, and they says, let's talk about that. And I talked for 20 minutes, a half hour, and they said, this has to be a TV series. There's no way it could be a movie. And they're right. But had it not been that after the races at Monticello, I went to a nightclub every single night of my life and listened to music. And that's what just cleared my head. Okay, let's go. Hello, Larry, Joe, and Eddie. That's from Angelique. Hello, Francis. Okay, they're having a... Okay, Larry, I hope I'm as good as you. If I make 84, you deserve a lot of credit. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dave. You know what I attribute it to? The blood keeps flowing. I never had a day where I could just sit in a rocking chair. It was always, and you keep the blood flowing, and that's it. I think I'm even 2 days after each of these operations, I was out and about. I was shoveling snow 5 days after I got my the bag on the side. And then a day after that, I drove from here to California and back in 6 days.
You're crazy.
So, you remember when I did that, right? I let you know.
Yeah, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Then you got into the car accident.
And then, and then I get home I survived.
A block away from home, he gets into an accident.
Yeah, girl went through a stop sign and demolished the car. Yeah, I drove a total of 6,500 miles through snow blizzards and everything else, and everything was fine. And it was tough, but that's what keeps you. I believe that's what keeps you young.
That's right.
That's the way my father is too, nonstop.
Yeah.
Always doing something, never idle. Just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going.
The only thing is, I was talking with Ian McKinley.
Oh,
and
good.
This was about 3-4 months ago.
Oh,
And he told me that he was having a little problem remembering names and stuff like that. And he told me back then he was taking this blue stuff, that other blue stuff that's out there now that's supposed to fix your mind.
Prevagen?
No, it's some
Yeah, I know what you mean.
blue, something blue. I don't know. It was on Joe Rogan. Anyway, I'm not sure if I could meet somebody and they could tell me their name, and as soon as they tell me their name, the next sentence I forgot their name. I can't. But some things I remember.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I do that.
I don't know if I'm getting Alzheimer's or I'm getting senile or what, because sometimes I'm okay and sometimes I'm terrible. I was always terrible with names. Terrible. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you, David. Larry, I hope I'm as good as you when I'm 84. You deserve a lot of credit. Thank you. Okay, Eric, why would Keeneland reschedule the bluegrass for today instead of that's Eddie? You know that anything?
The weather, the floods.
Okay.
Terrible weather in Keeneland. Terrible.
Okay, Tom. Hey, gang. Are there any rules about naming horses? Naming a horse? Are they tattooed with the name? Can the name be changed for good or evil? Well, I'll tell you my experience because maybe now it changed. You can use a name. It has to be standardbreds. I don't know about thoroughbreds.
10 years.
Huh?
10 years.
You could name a horse anything you want, but it has to be approved. The United States Training Association will approve it. They don't tattoo no more. They used to tattoo under the lip. Now they just brand you with a
Freeze brand.
No more. Digital.
Oh, now it's all like a chip or something?
Chip, yeah.
So they don't
really
tattoo nothing no more.
No.
How long has that been going on?
A couple of years.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they come into the paddock and they got a scanner and they scan the neck and they get the chip in the neck.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. And change as far as name changing, I think it's 10 years for a thoroughbred. Otherwise, if you have the name of the horse is Joe, after 10 years, you can name another horse Joe.
I know that when standardbreds, it used to be you could change the name. If you buy a horse at a sale, it's a 2-year-old, you could change the name.
Yeah, it costs you $300. It used to cost $300 to change the name. I don't know now.
If it's approved. Jim Curran had a horse by Full Napoleon, and he wanted the name of Fuller Dreck. And it came back, they refused him because in Jewish it means full of shit. So named it Bonaparte's filly, but yeah, you can get refused.
Jesse Black, Eric. Jesse is my friend. Eric, he's answering Eric. Eric, I was at Yonkers simulcast the day Venezia was killed. The track announcer came on and said the rest of the card was canceled. Yeah, that's terrible. Jesse Black. Come on, we only got 3 likes. Yeah, Jesse, you got to keep, because I keep forgetting. But 3 likes is good. If we got 3 likes.
Yeah, but we got 4 guys, so we should have 4.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Somebody don't like me.
The bell.
Okay, Francis says, good job, Edward.
Thank you, Francis.
Hey, Eddie, what does it cost an owner all in a month for a 20,000 claimer at Aqueduct? It don't make no difference if it's a 20 claimer or a 10 or an allowance horse. Go ahead.
It's $120 a day. Figure it out. That's what without the vet.
So it's 120 a day. We'll
5,000 easy.
we'll get into this just a little to explain it. It's 120 a day. That
That's
includes
3,600.
well, let me tell you what that includes. That includes training,
Yeah.
feed, grooming,
Yeah.
meaning even the hot walker.
Yeah.
It don't include shoeing,
Shoeing, veterinarian. Yeah.
What about exercise rider?
That's included, but
That's included in the 120?
Yeah.
Okay. So 120 includes everything except
vet and shoeing, blacksmith.
veterinarian or blacksmith. Okay. All right. So that comes to how much, Joe?
36 and
3,600 plus.
plus 280 for shoes, 240 for shoes rather. So that's 3840 plus the vet. Say my vet bills are low because I don't go crazy with tapping and stuff. So I'm old school.
What about shipping?
Safely 4,500.
Yeah, about around there. Figure about 45. Yeah,
4,500 average probably.
yeah. But you're racing for the cheapest purse is 29,000. And that's
figure if you claim a horse for 100,000, say for $50,000, you have to make 100,000 in purse money to break even for everything. But it'll cost you about 50,000 a year just to maintain a racehorse.
Right.
So if you play the claiming game, you better know how to play it, and you better be aggressive and know where to place these horses, and don't fall in love with them.
No, you see what happens with the claiming game. It's good because you could claim it for 20. All right. The pots, I think 32, or 36. So even if you drop them to 16, you're not really losing because the pot will compromise and you'll basically make money because the purse for a 16 will be 32.
Yeah, but you're allowed to claim and drop, or don't you?
No. After the 30-day rule, all that other crap,
Because that used to be a gimmick.
There's still a 30-day rule with the thoroughbreds?
Yeah.
That used to be a gimmick. You claim a horse that can't lose, or that that's going to be definitely first or second. You claim them, and then before the rule was changed, you claim him for 20. The next week you put him in for 15.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to win that race. And if he don't get claimed, which he might not, because everybody's going to think something must have happened to him, you're going to win that person. You're even with the horse and made a few bucks the first time you race him. But then they changed the rule that you have to move them up.
For 30 days, yeah.
Larry, you always were 100% right with the thoroughbreds. It's not an even playing field, not at all. It's tough.
Yeah, I know.
It's tough.
And somebody like you now I don't know. I'm anxious to see the results after a year or so with HISA, with everything that they're doing and how they're doing it, because I don't know. I can't comment because in the beginning I was very tough on them, and now I hear that there's less horses dying. There's less of everything.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get in trouble, but it's like 72% horses that are dying, but there's 30% that is under the covers. So,
all right, so don't talk no more, right? Because we don't want you to lose your story.
I really don't give a shit. I mean, I hate the fucking people.
You're right, Eddie. Hands-on is the best experience. Okay, Sundance. Hit the like button, subscribe. Very good, Sundance. You should say that just keep saying that.
So every 15 minutes.
You got to make a commercial. Come on the air. You got to make a commercial.
We need the algorithms.
Yeah,
Reading
algorithm.
algorithms. Hey, Larry, you're getting good, man.
Getting good at it now.
Algorithms.
Yeah,
Maybe
Hey,
follow
you're making
the-
progress.
All over the place.
The other one I get screwed up is aneurysms or what?
Oh,
You
geez.
said that perfect too.
Aneurysm.
I don't even want to know about aneurysms. Leave me
Yeah,
alone.
you don't want that. Stick to
No.
algorithms.
An aneurysm.
You know, it'd be great if Anthony can write another love letter to me every week and
Oh, please.
All
You
right,
let me talking about
I'll
That's
fish something
really-
up. Don't worry about it.
That's nice to hear. Okay, here we go. Larry, we used to use Gatorade and yoga to replenish the horse by tubing them. Yeah,
True.
I remember. I used to go when
True.
Gatorade I used to buy a case and yeah, I
There
used
you
to.
go.
I drenched them. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Sour apple. Little baking soda. Bingo.
Tom Lusty, I know the name can't be vulgar. However, Hidden Biden was not
Biden.
Hayden Biden. However, Hayden Biden. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. Happy birthday, John Campbell. Yeah, today's Campbell's birthday. You know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Bill O'Donnell's next month, May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Very nice. Eric, God is watching over you, Larry. Well, that's nice, Eric.
What do you mean it's nice? It's the truth.
It's the truth, right? It's a fact.
Larry, I want to ask you a question. When you were on your gambling binge, did you ever go to the dog races or play or bet the highlight games?
Who you talking to?
Larry.
No, the only time I went to, I didn't look. When I was in that trouble, I had no time to go no place. It was 24 hours a day business doing it. If I ever sat down, I could spend the whole hour telling you what I did and how I did it and what I had to come up with and
23 hours.
runners and where to go and what numbers to bet, getting the money from one place to another, then worry about collecting the money and then setting up this race, setting up 3 other races. This is every day. I had no time. But however, in the after I got even in the 80s, 81, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, when I was in Florida, an owner I had wanted to go to the dog race. He'd never been to the dog track, wanted to go. So I went to Highlight and went to the dog races. And that was it. I went once to each place and that was it. I never, ever bet on them.
Eddie used to go to Highlight a lot. He got high every night and he lied every night.
Larry, probably 90% of your audience has a gambling problem. Well, I don't know about that, but I should do. But in order to, I could say, yeah, I want to do a show on gambling and everything. But the only people that are going to hear it are the people, 400 or 500 people that are watching.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out a way. That's why you got to hit like, subscribe, and for the algorithms.
Ring the
Once
bell.
the algorithm ring a bell, then I think it spreads it out more and you get more people. But I could do that, but that's it'd be sad. I think I'd be very sad if I got a guy to come on and
Well,
say
you're going to have a lot of hardship stories that, it's,
There's going to be them, yeah.
People lost their houses, lost their marriages, they lost their lives or whatever the hell. It's terrible. I mean, addiction is terrible. No, all 3 of them are terrible. I was definitely a board member on all 3. So, but I escaped.
It makes you be the person that you're really not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Makes
right.
you do things that are not in your heart.
Never do.
Dulce animal,
Yeah.
an animal.
Yep.
Okay, Eric, I played high school football. Our quarterback was all state, 200 college offers, embezzled from a bank and walked in front of a tractor trailer on Pennsylvania Turnpike. Yeah. That's what happens. That's what happens. The guy over here, I know, stepped in front of a train and in Garfield. It's just that this is what happens. There's no escape, you know. And most of the time, when you lost everything, the chase gets you, and you keep going, and you wind up stealing and robbing and doing things, and it's just terrible. And then the bottom line is you run out of things, and it's just, and then this is what happens. You got to run away, or back in the 70s or 60s or 50s, and you get killed, and or you step.
I'm gonna tell you, it was sad and it was like unbelievable. But I had a good friend of mine when I was growing up. I lived in Long Island. We used to go to Roosevelt all the time. And he was a hardworking guy. He was a smart guy, and he saved his money, but he loved betting the horses. So he would go to the track all the time and lose. And it got to a point that he said, that's it. I'm not going to the track no more. I'm not gambling no more. I'm done. So his cousin worked for Metro Feed. Remember Metro Feed? Howard Parker used to
Howard Parker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he used to own Metro Feed. So Jimmy Franzino, who was his cousin, he used to have the trucks at Yonkers and Roosevelt. So he was friendly with Donald Dancer at the time. And Donald Dancer was tight with him, and he used to give him horses. And he used to give us the horses, and 9 out of 10 of them would win. So we always told Kevin, get your money back. Bet a little bit on his horse. You lost all of this money. No. And the horse would win. He was pissed off the next day. Finally, one day, Donald Dancer told Jimmy Franzino, my friend, who was this guy's cousin, he said, I got a horse that's going to pay about $15 tonight. He's really good. It was at Roosevelt Raceway. The horse's name was Out of Bounds. I'll never forget it. So we talked my friend Kevin into coming to the track with us that night. He bet like $1,500 on the horse. Everything he saved back, because the horse had a really good shot. I swear to you, I was there. The horse's name was Out of Bounds. With a 16th of a mile to go, he was up by 15 lengths. The horse had a heart attack and fell over the hub rail. Imagine that. The horse died right before the wire. He fell right over the hub rail.
You remember the Hawaiian kid,
I thought
Larry?
he was going to commit suicide. Name of the horse was Out of Bounds, too, when he fell over I went out of bounds, all right.
What'd you say, Ant?
Remember I forget his last name. Fuck, you talk about memory. His first name was Victor. He was Hawaiian, had a pig roast every summer. And crossing the wire, he died of a heart attack on the bike. His name was Victor. It was in Monticello. His name was Victor. He was a Hawaiian kid.
Victor?
I should know.
Victor, yeah. His name was Victor. Died in the sulky, crossing the wire. Just fell over backwards and had a heart attack right on the track.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. And probably had to be around 75, 76, right around there.
I should remember. I think I heard about. I don't remember.
I got to ask my brother. He'll remember his name. He has a better
Anyway,
name.
Jesse Black. They were always guys selling food stamps in the grandstand at Aqueduct. Their kids had nothing to eat, but that's how it gets you. It just gets you.
Remember the Stoopers?
Yeah. It's to pick the tickets off the floor, look for scratches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They made a lot of money, those guys. A lot of people threw out tickets.
I had a friend of mine. We called him Poppy. He used to go to OTBs.
That's what this guy did, I know. Joe 9.
Go to OTBs, go in the back, take all the garbage bags out of the dumpsters, take them home. He found tickets, scratches, $3,000 triples. He did it for a living. He had a billboard on his wall.
Right.
That's what he did that's how he made a living.
Yeah.
Every day. People, degenerates. Just
You know, there were guys years ago, and I'm sure all of you will remember this. All they did in between races is pick up all the tickets off the floor.
Stupid.
Yeah.
And
They
they stopped it now.
stupid.
That's why now they have people going around picking up all the tickets off the floor, because these guys made a lot of money.
Yeah.
You guys made a lot of money doing
Yeah.
that. And then
Usually a lot when there's a Stewart's inquiry, people throw their tickets out,
Right.
they don't hear it, and the horse comes down. They
Trotter makes a break at the quarter pole. I leave. They throw the tickets in the air. It comes back and wins.
Rick Simon says, don't bother calling 1-800 junk removal for a quote. They are complete ripoffs. $2,500 to remove some junk. Common. Well, I have to tell you, I use them. I had a place in Jersey City, Joanne's house in Jersey City. Her mother was a hoarder. She kept the whole basement was full of everything. And I called them, and it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 trucks to get everything out of there. But then you have to remember, first of all, that's a job, taking all that junk out of a basement. Second of all, they got to get rid of it. They pay to get rid of it. And third of all, sometimes you get to a point where you just say, look, I don't care how much it costs, just get rid of it. And that's at the stage that I was at. So I didn't go price shopping. I just something had to
Got it done. Plus, they got to pay 4 guys to do it.
Yeah.
Labor.
I had to exile someone because of his gambling. Yep. It's terrible, terrible thing. Didn't believe the story because they aren't gamblers and they don't understand the life. That's very true, David. That's very true. Some of these stories you just can't believe. Larry, if you want to devote a show to gambling addiction, your first guest should be All-American quarterback Art Signa. Did you know him? You sports guys? Did you know him?
Art Schlichter was a quarterback.
Yeah.
When I went to South Oaks rehab, I went to a rehab in South
Massapequa.
in Massapequa, and Art Schlichter was there. And I spoke to Art Schlichter. He was there. In other words, I think we were there for 30 days or something. I don't remember the amount of days, but the first 3 or 4 days that I was there, he was there, but then he was leaving. And I met Art Schlichter. He was in Amityville in South Oaks.
South Oaks.
Yeah.
I can't begin to tell you, and I should remember, and I don't right off the top of my head, but I know that the guy that I wanted to write my movie lost $100 million. He was the guy, the writer for that TV series Luck. I should know his name.
Yeah, I know the guy. He was degenerate.
Yeah.
I forgot
Plus,
his name.
there's a lot of people, even Gladys Knight. Millions and 30.
Jay Black was a big gambler. Big gambler.
Yeah.
Who else? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's a tremendous gambler.
Yeah. We should make a list of all the people that, because there's a ton of them that
really
that lost a lot. We should do a study on that and put it up, because it's tough. There was another guy. Who the hell was it that 100? I remember when I went out to California to buy Judy Garland way back, had a TV series, Judy Garland show. She had Sinatra on there, everybody. They did 26, 27 episodes. And I flew out to California to meet with her husband at the time, Sid Luft. Judy had died already. And I wanted to buy his, the thing, because I had it pre-sold to Homebox. And he was a sick, degenerate gambler, blew everything. And the reason I couldn't get it was because my lawyer looked up and says he sold the rights to everything, and he's penniless now. And he sells them to 3-4 different people. Bottom line was I left. I never bought him. But there's another guy, Sid Luft, that blew all his money. Rick Simon, Larry, you should have pulled a Vito Colon.
Corleone. Don Fanucci, Uncle Bert.
Don Fanucci.
You could have hit the light bulb with your finger.
Ping, ping, ping.
You wrap the towel around the gun.
How do you guys remember? That's right. When he was going to, he hit the, very good. Yeah, but I that wasn't my thing. That wasn't my thing. I tell you, I wonder. Gary D. Hi guys, did you see that pinto-colored mare pacer win at the Meadowlands last week in 152? Wonder if any of you seen one racing. No, I haven't watched a harness race. The only race.
Pinto colored?
Yeah, you should see it. The horse with the high watching on Meadowlands. Yeah, he come from Ireland, I think, or somewhere. They're called, I forget the breed. They're pinto. They're brown and white. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. He pacing 52 and change.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see it. Okay, Angel, that is so fantastic, Larry. I don't know what I said that's so fantastic. David, Sony didn't believe your story because they aren't gamblers, Larry. It wasn't Sony. It was somebody at the it was when I was in California, there was a publishing company that sent somebody to the hotel. I don't know how they knew I was there, but they knew I had a meeting with Bernard. What the hell is his first name? I forgot. I had to meet with him that night. Him and his brother ran Sony Pictures. Oh, geez, I forgot. Anyway, in the afternoon, I got paged, and it was this guy from some publishing company, and he was interested in buying my story. And I said, it's not for sale. That's why I self-published it. And he says, well, and then we were talking and everything. And he says, well, I really didn't believe it anyway, because cement don't harden in salt water. And I says, well, look, I can only tell you, I don't know where the fuck they got the water from. All I know is what happened to me. But it turns out that, anyway, that's okay. Long time no see, Larry. Glad I caught the live. Now, who is that? Bab329. Bab. I don't know. Well, I'm glad you caught me. Sundance, Eddie.
What?
Eddie, if you ever end, something is wrong with my keyboard. I'll fix it. Tommy Dimes. Who's the best driver? Carmine. We went through that. It's impossible. It's impossible to name. They're all. It's
A lot
just
of greats.
a lot of good guys. You gotta be fearless. You gotta have a great sense of pace. You gotta have guts. You gotta have
Smart.
You gotta be smart. You gotta have a great sense of pace. You gotta and how do you separate a guy like Pierce and Brennan and O'Donnell and Campbell and on and on and on and on? How do you separate them? They make very few mistakes, and they know what they have, and everybody can't drive the best horse in a race, but when you have 10 good drivers in a race, they know their horse, they know the ability of their horse, and that's why some of them just sit in, and you might bet on it. Why didn't he pull out then? They know it's.
Well, that's TV trainers to make all those comments.
Yeah.
Larry, you're tougher than nails. God bless. Gary D. Tougher than nails.
You know what the nice part is, Larry? We got to work with all of these top drivers being in New York and Jersey. We got to actually race against them and train with them and live their lives as they, great drivers ever. We lived in that era.
There was only one of the top guys, Hall of Famers, that was not a nice guy. And I'll never mention him, but he just was not a nice guy.
Well, you better mention him now.
No, I'm not. I can't mention him.
No. Can't kick people's names in the
I'll
street.
tell you privately, and I'll tell you the reason why.
Okay.
But he was just not a nice guy.
I'm trying to think who's not a nice guy.
No, they're all great. They're all good.
What years you talking about?
Oh, Jesus. Stop
I'm
milking
talking
them.
about in the 80s, it may be starting out in the, in the 2000s,
Okay.
in the, maybe in the 80s, 90s. Yeah. Yeah. So right around. Right. He drove with all the, he was right in that colony with O'Donnell, with Campbell, with Pierce, with all of them.
So he was a Meadowlands guy.
He was a Meadowlands guy. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well, Ray Remmen was a sweetheart. That's
Ray Remmen was one of the best ever in
Yep.
the whole world. What a
Yep.
great guy.
Yep.
When I was stable there the last bunch of years, he was in the next barn from me. Him and his brother Larry.
Yep.
Great guys. He won the first race at the Meadowlands, I think.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Great guy. Really good guys. A lot of good guys in that business. It's so, and what's good. What was good, because I know what I did, and I know the reputation I had, and that's the reason Joe DeFrank would never let me in there. And it took some doing in a lot of years before he let me in, and because he knew, everybody knew, and yet they just accepted me. They just, everybody was, friendly, and there was never ever a problem, and that was nice, and that was nice. So and
everybody knows you said,
and that's why for the first 100 podcasts I did, I never asked anybody to come on that was, like Campbell or O'Donnell or any of them guys, because I was afraid. And I said it last week. There was one time when, only because of, I'll tell you, because I said it, when I asked Jimmy Marone to come on, because I was doing that whole Wildwood Jeb thing of
right,
telling a story. I was showing the races and everything else. And I says, Jimmy, it'd be great if you come on here, because it would really lend a lot of credibility to this, because a lot of people want to know how come you got in that accident, what was it like to win? Because when Jimmy Marone, I put him on Wildwood Jeb, nobody knew him. It was that's what, and he even says it. That's what got me going. And he says, yeah, I'll come on. And then the day of the thing, he says he can't. And then there were one or two other guys that I asked to come on because they were part of that. And they, yeah. And then I stopped asking. And if it wasn't for Freddie Hudson, no, it wasn't Freddie Hudson. It was Michael LaChance. Michael LaChance called me up, and he says, he said a lot of nice things. He says, "Oh, come on."
Mike's a great guy. When I spoke to Mike, he says, I don't care anything what anybody says about Larry. To me, he was always a good guy, and that's what I go by. And I said, you're 100%, Mike, because everybody's going to say bad things about people. Until they do you wrong, give them the benefit of the doubt.
All right. David says $5,000 a month to race, maybe twice a month if you're lucky. That's the reason I stayed with the Standardbreds after being with the Thoroughbreds. But the Thoroughbreds is a much easier game in every way, but you just need a lot of horses. Okay. Great answer, Eddie. Steve, what's that? They all eat crap and need to be trained, whether they're 10 claimers or running in the Kentucky Derby. Great answer, Eddie. What is that word? THEA.
It's supposed to be they.
They all eat.
They all eat crap
They
and
need to be trained, whether they.
What kind of crap is he talking?
I
What's
don't
crap?
know.
he must mean that they all eat the same, everything gets done the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whether it's a
Okay.
10th claimer or a Kentucky Derby contender, it's still the same.
Yeah.
The horse is
I
still
don't know about crap.
Yeah, well, crap. Yeah, it's not a good word to put in there.
All right. Bab 329. That's the guy who come before and says he's glad he caught us live. And he says, name drop some of the cheating trainers. Well, it's easy. They're all in jail. The ones that were the cheating trainers. You can't ask me because everything I did is in the newspapers and everything. It had nothing to do with trainers. It had to do with me. It had to do with drivers and jockeys, and all of that was in the newspapers. Today, all the trainers that were cheating, I don't believe there's anybody fixing races. Maybe at the smaller tracks they're doing it. I'm sure they are, because how else are they going to make it? But other than that, the trainers that were cheating, I believe you're talking about is the drugs, and they're cheating that way. They're all in jail now, except the thoroughbred guys. And for some reason, they keep appealing things for years and years and years. But all the standardbred guys are in jail.
Is Monticello back racing?
Yeah, they fixed the racetrack. Yeah, you know what happened with that? The water pipes, everything underneath the track, 20, 30 feet underneath, they all froze, broken. Yeah, that's what happened. Who's legit and who's not? Give us some names. Oh, this guy, come on. He finally found a live. He come on with some good. I should answer these things because who's legit and who's not? Give us some names. I can only tell you that I can't. I've been out of the game a long time, so the trainers that are not today, I have no idea. As far as I'm concerned, the game today is pretty much on the level, except for some trainers that are using drugs and everything.
The biggest criminals are the guys in the racing and wagering board.
Yeah,
they're the biggest criminals.
But as far as if you want to know, I suggest that if you read my book, in my book, I name all the jockeys and all the jockeys at 3 different racetracks that I dealt with for 3 years and made a lot of money. And if you want to buy the book, and like I told Gloria DeMasi, I would send you a book, but I would have to order them and then send it to you. But if you go on Amazon and just ask for Against All Odds by Larry Rolla, the book will come up, and there's a lot of pictures in the book and a lot of stories of everything I did, and then you'll know. And then you know, as far as today goes, I don't know, but in reality, when I say ask me anything, and this is live, ask me anything, I should really get into it, but I just can't. I can't.
You know something? I was watching Lara Trump last week. She has her show on now. And someone asked her, if you had to write a book about your father-in-law, what would you name it? You know what she came up with? Against All Odds.
Really?
I looked at my father. I said, that's taken. I said, that's Larry's. No,
there's about 20. If you go to Amazon and punch in Against All Odds, there's 20 books named Against All Odds. You got to say by Larry Rolla, and then
I know, but it was funny that she said that.
Yeah.
Larry, I got to intervene with something quick. Before, when we were on not live, you had said when you were interviewing, when Eric Loomis was interviewing, you might have slipped and said that my aunt or a family member had interviewed my uncle after he got out of jail. Well, that's fine. You can tell anybody you want that. I mean, she did. It was my Aunt Joan, his ex-wife, and she interviewed him when he got out of jail, and he told the whole story of how he,
What he's talking about, you guys that are out there, what he's talking about is when Tony Shula got caught. He got caught with his uncle Con Erico, and had Con, his uncle, opened up and ratted, I would have been in jail. But he didn't. He went to jail for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever he went, never said a word. And so my name was never brought up because Tony Schuler, who could have mentioned my name, they were more interested in getting all the guys from the Winter Hill Gang, Whitey Bulger,
Whitey Bulger.
and he was going to write a book himself. So he wanted everybody to think that he got all of these guys in New York all by himself and everything else. But Khan knew the real story because I put them together. And after he got out of jail, and that's what Anthony was talking about, he did an interview. He did an interview with your aunt, and he told the whole story there. So I'm just.
And I'm still working on talking my cousin into letting me run with that. So that's not put to bed.
Okay. Well, so but you know the strange thing. Not one person. We did now. This is probably 120 podcasts we did. I did. Not one person. Had anything like, not one person ever said you're full of shit. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. And
No.
and everybody that listens is in the horse business, or
But
even that not one person says that didn't happen. And when that time comes, if somebody ever did answer that question, I'm sure that. Well, I can't even say I'm sure I could prove it, because there's a lot of things that I did that there's no way I could prove it. I could just say it. But the people that I did it with can say that that never happened, but that never happened. So
there's enough people out there that know that it happened and know what you're saying is the truth and everything.
Most things were
People
verifiable.
that are going to doubt you, that's their problem if they don't believe you. I mean,
yeah, I'll tell you, I'm beyond that anyway. And I said it.
Why should you lie? Why should you lie about things?
What do you got to gain from that?
You know what Pileggi says when I was sitting with them people.
Who?
Nicholas Pileggi, the guy who wrote Casino and Goodfellas and all of them. He's a guy that knows them. When I said we were talking for hours and hours and hours, and I said, I really don't remember. You could. He says, yeah. He says, when you're making a movie, you have the right to make up things and say anything you want. He says, but in reality, everything you're telling me is more exciting than anything we could make up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and even if you forget the dates or the times, it's the situation. It's the situation that happened. I mean, it's tough when you come and you have to have, your payment. Say I got to have. Let's just make it easier. 15,000 at the end of the week, and now you're 4,000 short, 5,000 short, but you fixed the last race. And the next morning, you got to see the guy, and somebody runs over the money in the last race. Now it's midnight, and you're 4,000 short, and you got to meet somebody at 8 o'clock in the morning. And some of these things happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So all stupid stuff like that happens.
Yeah, when you sent me your book, I read it in a day and a half. I literally couldn't put it down, and more so knowing you and then reading all of that.
I got a lot of even a couple of people from Monticello that said the same thing, and not one person ever said you're full of shit or nothing, anything like that. But all good reviews.
Yeah.
Because when Bob Hutt called me and says, I never know you wrote a book. I wrote it, and then he says, I want you to look at the reviews. He says, I gave you a nice review, and I read it, and then I went down the list. There's so many things about, exciting and this and that and everything else. And that's like the bullshit part of it. The real part of it is I started to get into it with Pileggi and them. and there's names I couldn't mention back then that I could mention now. But anyway, okay. Here's that guy again. You guys should do a Kentucky Derby handicap stream. Nah, it's impossible. You know what I did? You know what I said one day? And I might have said it to Larry Mazza. Larry Mazza has his own podcast. Well, he used to have his own podcast. Now they're making a movie about his life. He's very a mob guy. Anyway, I told him he's very much into the thoroughbreds and handicaps a lot. And I said I could probably, if it was legal for me to be a bookmaker and just take thoroughbred bets, I would take every bet and you could bet at the half mile pole and bet as much as you want. I'll give you track odds and bet at the half mile pole. In other words, if the race is a mile, let the race go halfway at the half mile pole to the finish. You could bet at the half mile pole and I'll still take all the money. That's what I think about it. It's so difficult. There's so many variables in handicapping that the bettor don't know. Did the horse eat? Did he get out? Was he sick? Was this? Was that? There's so many things that you just don't know. It's tough. Okay, Francis, glad you're doing well today, Eddie. Eddie looks a little sick because something's wrong with I don't know what happened, but see, Anthony and Eddie are very dark. And it's something, either I hit a button or because Eddie got a new computer. Eddie win a few $100,000 in the last 2 weeks. So he finally went out and he bought a new computer.
Yeah.
And he called me this afternoon. He says, can you send me a link so we could check it? And at the same time, I sent Anthony a link and they both came on. It was perfect. Now at 5 minutes to 8, 10 minutes to 8, we came on and they were both dark like this. Joe came on. He was normal. I was normal. I keep my room a little dark because my friend says I was turning gray when I was sick and going through that. I was gray. So I keep the lights down low.
Oh.
And so that's why the lights are low, because they said I look like him. Now I gained 5 pounds in the last week.
That's good.
Where's Sundance? She was talking to me. She disappeared.
She said her keyboard is screwed up.
Yeah.
See, she just sent me this, Larry. Well, what's that mean? Okay. As bad as online gambling is today, it actually saves some compulsive gamblers money. You can't bet what you don't have the same way you can with a bookie. And that's why bookies will never be obsolete, because the gamblers that can't bet because they don't have any money can bet with a bookie, and that's how you get yourself in trouble.
Credit.
Victor Reeves. That's right.
Yeah, there was a time when with a dime, I could bet $250,000 with one dime.
That's right.
And that's the problem. Okay, here he is again. The driver's name was Victor Reeves. Is that the driver you're talking about? Monticello?
Victor Reeves. Yep, he was Hawaiian.
Yep, he was the only one. So this guy, Bab 329, maybe we know him, because if he knows Victor Reeves, that means he's from
Victor Reeves. I mean, I went to his pig roast. He had a pig roast. He roasted.
What year was that? That had to be like in the 60s.
No, it was probably around 75, right? Of 75, 76, mid-70s.
How come I didn't know him?
I don't know. Victor Reeves. That's his name. Thanks, Bob.
Luck was an excellent TV show. It ended too soon. I love that show. Said that it got canceled after 2 seasons.
That was because of Peter, right? It got canceled?
What's that?
It got canceled because of Peter.
Well, yeah, but it also got canceled because at that time I was racing in Delaware Park with the thoroughbreds. and they asked a lot of the jockeys that were in that movie come from Delaware. One of them specifically was Joe Rocco Jr., and he was the one that told me that that they would a thoroughbred, harness horses. You go out there, there's tractors, there's water trucks, there's everything. You could drive a harness horse down the Jersey Turnpike in the truck lanes, and everything will be fine. A thoroughbred, if when they're on the track, no water trucks, no tractors, no nothing. And if, God forbid, somebody should walk onto the track or something looking maybe to go pick up a shoe or something, they go crazy. And with luck, what they were doing was they were doing live racing scenes, which you can't do. They try to get 8, 9 horses in a race with cameras on the hub rail, cameras on cars, cameras on horses, and you can't do that. And the bottom line was, after 2 or 3 seasons, I think they went more than 2 seasons. I think they went 4 or 5. They had 4 or 5 or 6 horses that they had to put down that died, because every time they do a racetrack scene, like from the head of the stretch home, the director would say, no, cut, do it again, because one horse would run sideways, running away from the cameras and everything else. And it's impossible to do a live racetrack scene. So they wind up killing these horses, and they wind up canceling the show. And the guy who wrote that show was the guy that we mentioned before, that David Milchin or something like that. I forgot.
Yeah.
Milchin. He was one of the writers for the show, and he's the guy that when I was in California, I wanted him to write my show, because, and I told Pileggi and Richard,
Because he was a gambler.
He lost $100 million betting on horses. And but he was senile. They said he was senile, and he was getting worse, and I could never get him. Anyway, so this guy Babs 329, he Babs, you're new here, so hit what are you gonna hit? Like and subscribe. It's for free. It's for free. And hit like, subscribe, and something about the bell.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Yeah. Okay. Eric, Bernard King was always playing blackjack at Clara Casinos in Atlantic City way back in the day. Golfer John Daly too. Yeah. I gotta find that out. I gotta find out. See, now he's saying Bernard King. Now, I don't know if he's talking about one of the King brothers that owned the TV series.
Basketball player.
No, that's who Bernard King is?
New York Knicks, yeah. Okay.
But there was the King brothers that owned the network where it was a big, very, very wealthy, billionaires, 2 brothers. One was a sick, degenerate gambler, really bad. I used to be when he had his own window at Hialeah. And the King brothers, they had Inside Report with anyway.
Was Larry King one of them?
Larry King. No. I don't think his name was Larry. No.
Okay.
Sundance. Yes, addiction is horrible, but nobody likes a quitter. It is fantastic about your cancer-free news. Yeah, that was good news. Now we're waiting for the other tests to see. But in reality, and everybody says, how could you have a clear? Because I never felt sad about anything, because I lived my life, and so it never bothered me. And the truth of the matter is, your mind, the state of your mind is 50% of the cure. You got to keep a positive attitude.
Yeah.
Okay, we all do stuff we regret. Not everyone lives to tell their story. Yeah. Well, I never would have told my story if it wasn't for Alfred Natoli and Frankie Vincent, and they were the ones and Frank Collada. Frank Collada, when he called me up one day, And he said, half of the people don't even know who Frank Collada is, but I can't go through the whole. Frank Collada was the button guy for Tony Spilotro. Tony Spilotro was the guy that Joe Pesci played in the movie Casino.
Mhm.
And Frank Collada had a part in that. And he was the button guy for that. And he in 1974, he did me a big favor. He was the one that found Tony Shula. I can't get into these things because it goes too long. But anyway, he called me up and he says, I'm writing a book. He says, you mind if I put that chapter, that story, that incident that we did with me, you, and Spilotro in 74, do you mind if I put it in? I says, I don't care, put it in. And he put it in. And he had a tour in Vegas. He would take you to the Mob Museum, and then he'd take you into the desert and show you where he buried everybody in the desert. And he said, and he sold a book. The book come out, and he did a whole chapter on that situation that me and him did. And he says, he called me up, and he says, I get answered more. The only question I get answered the most is that chapter that we did together. He says, you got to write your own story. You got to write this. And he was friends at the time with Pesci and with Frankie Vincent and with Alfred Natoli, because they were all in Casino together. They were the actors, and they hired Frank Collada to be the advisor. They gave him a couple of $100,000 to be the advisor for the film, and they eventually put him in the movie. He was the guy that come behind another guy and shot him in the head. And they all convinced me to write my story, because everybody else knew the story. Frank knew about it from the 74 on, and they convinced me to write this book. I never wrote a love letter in my life, but so when they convinced me to write the book, I contacted hundreds of people and say, send me anything you remember about what I did and how I did it and everything else. And Alfred's wife, Sharman, helped me put it all together. And that's how the book came about. And I got lucky. They picked it up right away. Okay, Larry, were you in on the movie Behind the Gate with Pesci? It's on YouTube. No, I was not. Pesci did that by himself. And Pesci at the time had a few racehorses. And he was at Monmouth Park when he had a big house here in Jersey. He sold it. He moved permanently to California, LA. And now all he does is play golf. But he did that by himself Behind the Gate. And that happened about maybe 15 years ago, I think. No, that was all.
Was it a good movie?
It wasn't a movie. It was a documentary.
Oh, okay.
You should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's called Behind the Gate.
Okay.
With Joe Pesci.
It's worth watching.
Yeah, it's worth watching. It's a lot of bullshit, but it's worth watching, Okay, David. Bob Baffert DQ'd in the Derby. The horse dies of a heart attack. 90 of his other horses die of heart attacks, and he still has a license. You wonder why racing is hurting. Everything you said, David, is 100% true. I did a couple of podcasts about that. But nobody has answers, and how many times are you going to say the same thing? It is what it is. I think he had 75 horses die of heart attacks, and that comes. And during when I did that podcast, it comes because I did a podcast because people say, it's because of guys like me that harness racing is down the drain and racing is this and that and everything else. And I think the first paragraph in my book says, I didn't invent corruption. It was here when I got here. And then I did a whole podcast on it. And I've been in the business now since 1958. And I can't think of two horses that in all of the harness industry that died of heart attacks.
Yep, you're right. I was just going to say that.
Baffert has 75, one trainer. And then you go down the list, and I think the top 10 trainers have over 1,000 horses that died of heart attacks. Now that's from the drugs and everything. I can't get into that, but
That horse I told the story about before, my friend bet him. He died right before the wire. He died of a heart attack.
yeah.
But besides that, in the 40 years I got in the business, maybe 3 or 4 horses. I mean, that I heard of.
Yeah.
Nothing like the thoroughbreds. That's crazy.
Yeah. You see the problem. The problem is, and see, what I do is like almost contradictory, because I say all the time, ask me any questions, ask me this, ask me that. And then when they do ask me something,
You can't talk. You take the fifth.
it's just tough. I could say what was in the newspapers, and I could say that Baffin had 75 horses, but it's hard for me to like when they say Secretariat was the greatest horse of all times and everything else. I could do a whole podcast, and after I get done with a podcast about who trained him and who was his veterinarian at the time, you'd have a different outlook,
Different point of view.
different point of view about Secretariat, about Kelso, about some of the greats back then, who the veterinarian was, what were they using, when was that certain drug invented at the same time, and I can go on and on and on and on. And I probably could, because everybody connected is dead. And
Mm-hmm.
and the veterinarian that was responsible for a lot of it, that was dealing with the trainers of these horses, was when they got caught, when the veterinarian got caught, he hired F. Lee Bailey. And F. Lee Bailey couldn't even get him off the hook, but he never said nothing. He just took the rap. But there's a lot of things that go on that went on long before I even thought of getting into business that I could talk about. That's very interesting, and I probably could, because everybody involved, including the attorney, is dead. They're all dead. But I get a kick out of when I see Secretariat this and Secretariat that and Secretary. They were races when Secretary got beat by average horses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then all of a sudden he's running off by 100 lengths, going the last quarter the same as the first quarter, which is never done in the history of thoroughbred racing. But there's reasons, and I had a little bit to do with that veterinarian, and I learned a lot from him, and which helped me and basically saved my life during the time when I was hooked up with who was the big Nicky Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Nicky Bonds, what I learned from him helped me save my life, because I was able to do things that I never even thought about, but that worked out well. So there's so many things that I could talk about, but anyway. Okay, here he is again. I believe that if you're not in with a track person that you can trust with your life, the claiming game will eat you up and spit you out. They'll take your money and you'll never win a race. That's why it's so important to know this guy, Eddie, because you're not going to have that. Because what you said is true with a lot of people. In fact, I just got a phone call, and I can't mention anybody's name. I can't. But anyway, the thing was, what do you do when you know the trainer and you know the owner, and the trainer is telling the owner that the horse is really good, he's this, he's that, and everything else, and then the horse finishes up the track every week? What do you do? And that's it's a tough thing. I gave him my advice, but you're right, it happens. and you have to get lucky enough to hook up with. And I have another friend that has a horse with a top trainer, and the top trainer, there's never a phone call, but the guy trains 300 horses. He can't call three, so you never get a phone call. You just, if you enjoy the horse, you're just going to get a call when he's into race, and that's it.
And you get a bill.
And you get a bill. But with a guy like Eddie here, he has 4, 5, 6, 7 horses. He's a very personable guy, and you won't have that problem. So if you have a thoroughbred, or you're in that business, or you're looking to get into the business, just let me know. I can't ask Eddie to give his phone number over the phone over here, but you could just message us right here, because we go through all the comments, and I could put you in direct contact with Eddie, and because regardless what he says, he's going to be in the business for a while, because it's tough. It's tough. He has it down pat. He's with some pretty good people. He's a good guy, and he's going to be around a while. And he's very, you can see he's a very personable guy, and you're going to get phone calls, you're going to get updates, you're going to get everything. But you're right in what you say. They take your money and you'll never win a race. And that's not the case, especially in the claiming game, because both Eddie and everybody on the screen here knows that if you're going to play the claiming game, it's a tough game. But you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know where to put them, and don't fall in love with them.
If you play it right, it's a great game.
Yeah.
If you want a pet, get a French poodle.
Very good. Okay, let's see. Here's the same guy. I've had friends claim horses, and they never made a dime. They bought all dogs, and all they got was high vet, that should be vet bills, I guess, claiming other people's problems. You're 1,000% right, because every horse in the claiming race is there for a reason. And the reason most of the times is either ability or lameness. And so when you're right, when you're in the claiming game, you have to understand that they're in they're in a claiming race for a reason. And you just need a trainer that does his homework, that's honest, and that's that guy right there. And I know a lot of thoroughbred guys, but they all fall into the same category, and a lot of them, you got to do what you got to do. But Eddie's a good guy.
Thank you, Larry.
I second that.
Thank you there, sir.
Anthony, biggest leaders are the biggest winners. Baffert, Scott Lake. Yeah, well, I remember when Scott Lake years ago was winning everything in Delaware and New York. I mean, Delaware and Pennsylvania, winning everything. And I don't want to say too much, but I can only say this, that he tried to put a horse, or he tried to race in New York, and a lot of the top trainers try to stop him, that they said, we don't want his kind racing here. Do you remember anything like that, Eddie? Or maybe it was before you, but I know that they didn't want him in New York. And then I think he got in some trouble. But you're right, I don't know about Scott Lake, but between these other guys here, a lot of dead horses. And you know what? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when you have owners that spent millions and millions and millions of dollars? You're training 100, 150 horses, and you're going out there, and you know that because everybody, the whole racing game, in fact, in every competition, everybody's looking for an edge. Whether it be stealing signals in a baseball game or whatever it might be, everybody's looking for an edge. Well, the only edge you can get in horse racing is a drug that would either eliminate some of the pain or add more red blood cells to a horse's body, and or help them breathing,
bronchodilator.
Bronchodilator, and these are the things they have to do. And the bigger you are, the bigger your vet bill is, and the more pressure is on the vet to get you to win races. Now, once that happens, and somebody else, another big trainer, he has to keep up with you, because now if you had two horses that were exactly like two horses that were equal in ability, all of a sudden one horse is running away from you, and you know why. So now you got to figure something out, find a drug from another country that will not show up here, and that's what that whole game became, and that's why. And just like with the elephant tranquilizer, which turned out to be a major painkiller. You know, for elephants, it was a tranquilizer, but you know how many horses died at the Meadowlands alone, or in New Jersey, I should say, alone, just trying to find the right dose. And it turned out that the right dosage of an elephant tranquilizer given to a horse to eliminate pain is whatever's left in the hub of the needle after you fill the syringe and squirt it all out. That's the right. You know how many horses got killed trying to find that right dosage? And that's the same thing with all of these drugs from all. You know, it's just a tough game. Okay. Sundance. Ray Remen won the first race at the Meadowlands with a free-legged patient. I believe it was September. She knows everything, this girl.
Yeah, it was 1976.
I don't know you, gentlemen. I wish I did. I grew up at a racetrack, and I know a lot about horse racing. Okay. Christos. I can't say them names. Look,
Greek.
a photo finish between Titanic and the market. Joe, can you? Joe, can you call that photo? Larry, hope all's good and you're feeling better. Okay.
Looks like a photo. I didn't see that.
Looks like a photo between the Titanic and the stock market, and they both sinking. What?
Joe, can you tell?
I knew they had to get a political thing in here.
Which one is
Don't
sinking?
worry about anything.
Don't worry
about anything.
Probably within 2 weeks, the market will be rising right up.
It's rising already. Eggs are down. Tell Freddie Hudson eggs are down 69%. Make sure you tell him.
I got a chicken coop in the barn if he wants some eggs.
Okay, Gary D. Wasn't Sammy Davis Jr. a heavy hitter, Larry? Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
In fact, Sammy Davis Jr. was such a heavy hitter that he was involved with Corky, a mobster, who, by the way, filmed my whole show at the Concord, and he owned a farm. They put it under Sammy Davis Jr.'s name, and that was the farm Gagliotti bought. Because when Gagliotti first bought the farm,
the trunks
there that said Sammy Davis Racing Stable on it. So yeah, and you want the wind up. In reality, every famous movie star, and even the ones that are not that famous, back then were hooked up with wise guys. Every single one of them. I can't tell you the amount of heavyweight wise guys were dying to meet John Gotti, dying to meet him. You would think Sophia Loren was a nice, Italian, this high. She would do anything, and she did. Anyway.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have any videos of races you fixed? No, I don't, Sheldon. I don't. I don't. In fact,
if you played them backwards, you could see them.
I'm trying to get, because that was in the 70s. Who's going to keep? Who's going to keep? But I'm trying to get a record, a film of the last two drives I had in harness racing. Last two winners were winners, and I drove both of them. and I'm trying to get them two races on film, and I can't. And the owner of them two horses says she thinks she has both things on a cassette, but she moved and they're in boxes and they can't find them. But no, I don't have any videos.
What's the names of the two horses, Larry?
Oh, Willetstown and Search Mission.
Okay.
Willetstown and Search Mission.
Dinosaur N and T-Rex Skipper.
No. Willets and who?
And Search Mission.
Search Mission. Okay.
Let me see something. I'll get right back to this. Let me see something here. I have a bunch of pictures here.
Horse Search Mission.
I don't have it. I have a bunch of pictures here that I put up in case you want to talk about something. The only pictures I have with these pictures here at Freehold, and I put them up because that's how I met Gabert when these are them are the only ones I have. I don't have that picture, but them were the two horses. Okay, I claimed a trotter at Yonkers for $12,500. Came off the racetrack, saw, never raced again. Total scam. It's not a total scam. It's
Bad claim.
It's a bad claim, and just like I said before, why do you think they're in claiming races? They're in claiming races for a reason. And if the horse, and you got to understand this, every single racehorse, whether it be thoroughbred or standardbred, is basically racehorse sound. And the ones that have less ability and have problems, them are the ones that go into the claiming races. So it's a crapshoot every time you claim a horse. They all have problems, and sometimes you claim one and it's a bad horse and you got to eat it. But most of the time, if you're with a decent trainer, maybe they can get them back to the races. It's tough. That's why the claiming game is tough. That's why, you can claim two horses in a row, make some money, and then claim a third one, and he situation like this, and all the months and money that you won, you lost because of this horse that you have to basically retire. So it's tough. I've been subscribed for over a year. I just haven't been lucky enough to catch many live streams when you're live. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, is Buffett's vet Dr. Fauci?
That's a real.
All
There's
right.
one guy that's a real criminal.
Yeah.
What a low life. Disgraziato.
All right. Well, we've been on 2.5 hours.
22 minutes.
Oh my God.
2 hours and a half.
And Eddie, you have to get up 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, you're going to get up with me because
No, I'm not. I'm shutting the phone off. And Anthony, I want to thank you for the nice, kind words that you said before.
Problem, man.
We just have to get you more involved. We have to talk. It would be nice if because my friend Tom if you send me videos of some of your races.
Yeah, I have a lot of them too.
I could, I don't know how he does it, but if you, I don't know, but if you
I gotta ask my brother how to do it. He says he can do it, so I'll ask him.
And send it to me in such a way that I could upload it onto. Because Joe sent me 3, and my friend got them on. I was able to show.
I sent you 12.
12, but I put 3 up.
Yeah.
And how did you send them, Joe?
I went to some company here in Florida that took them off the VHS. They cleaned them up and
I got mine on a hard drive.
Yeah, they put them on those sticks things. What do you call them?
I think if you put them on okay, because Eddie just sent me the link to get to Aqueduct Races, and I was able to. My friend was able to copy from the computer. I don't know how the hell he does it, but pick out one or two of your good races with that trotter you were talking about, and we'll put them on, because I feel terrible because we never get you involved.
No, yeah. No, I'll get some of the races. I got him with I got a few races where he's tented the head of the stretch and wins. The races winning the open trot. I got the race where I cut the mile with Easton Chief and got beat at the wire by O'Donnell after he loses his whip. Bastard's still beating. Then I figured, I got beat by one of the best, so what the hell? I didn't feel that bad.
David says, God bless, men. Great show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great show, gentlemen. Could listen to you guys tell stories 24/7. That's from Bab 329. And the last one here is from Francis. Great show, gentlemen. Just love the stories. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. That's it. And for my friend, Doris, who likes this song, and Joe likes it too. I know, Eddie, you're not going to listen to it, so I'm going to go to bed.
Play this song. Good night, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Larry, thank you for talking very highly of me. I really respect you.
No, well, it's the truth, Eddie. It's
no. As far as a friend,
these guys that get involved in horse racing, some of them get. You need somebody that you can communicate with. You're putting your money up, communicate, and I know that you will do that.
I tell you one thing: when we were in Pompano together, we ate well, didn't we? And you had your house. We had barbecues. We ate well, steaks.
I don't remember. I remember you in Monticello. I remember you once in Pompano. Is that when I had the house in Inverary with the pool and everything? And we
you had the townhouse.
No, that was the one I sold to Gilmore, right?
Yeah, you had the one. Yeah, we were downstairs, me, Bernie, and Frankie.
Yeah. The
one in Inverary, you had the waterbed with the fish in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had fish in his waterbed. That's nut.
All right. Go to sleep.
I remember the time he was betting on the football game. And I said, who'd you bet? He said, the team with the horns. I said, well, the Rams are playing in the Vikings. So which one has horns?
Go to bed, Eddie.
Good night, Eddie.
Oh, wait, I got to go back now. I got to go back to.
Go ahead. Summer win.
Huh? Oh, I got to do this. I got to get rid of, I keep forgetting I got to get rid of that.
Get rid of Eddie.
Okay, now I got to go. I got to play the song. The song that my friend Doris likes. I'm going to play it again. Again, Doris. My friend Alfred wrote it. I stole it. It's like he wrote it for me. And we're trying to get a famous country western star to sing that in a song called Here to the Band. All right, Eddie. I'm gonna say good night to all of you.
Good night, Larry. I'll be listening, but I gotta go to the Bacauza.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
So,
all right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good to you guys. See ya.
Good night.
Dump those grudges, ditch those judges, they're just weighing you down. Drop the haters, throw crap procrastinators, 'cause one man's smile is just another one's frown. When it's time for the end, ain't no warning, my friend. One day you're here, next stop the pearly gates. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. Dump collections, self-reflections, they're just covered in dust. Why obsess, worry or stress? Just ask yourself, what's the fuss? When your doctor calls you on a Sunday afternoon, gonna be a blue Monday, you'll be howling at the moon. You know you never can cheat fate. Lighten up, it's getting late. Forget bling and glitter, text and Twitter. Don't need it to make my case. Say it old school, face to face. Dump the users, soul abusers, turn and walk away. Give yourself a kick in the ass, then raise your glass. Let's toast to the past and make the most of today. Keep the faith, rise above, do the things that you love. Find a reason every day to celebrate. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. Live it well, have a blast. Live it full, life goes fast. You're carrying around too much dead weight. All the simple things are all that matter. Lighten up, it's getting late. Oh, what the hell? IGL. Oh, lighten up, it's getting late.